Kyle Kulinski, Crusader for Social Justice. Alright, this video's coming out pretty late. I meant to have it out earlier, but I guess I'm just prone to distraction. Anyway, I hadn't really been paying a lot of attention to the Secular Talk channel for a while. But I had to check in to see how the semi-bearded wonder was coping with the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ad that ran. Do you remember that? During one of the Democratic Party's beauty pageants, there was an ad about Cortez.
This is the face of socialism and ignorance. Does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez know the horror of socialism? My father was minutes from death in Cambodia before a forced marriage saved his life. That's socialism. Forced obedience, starvation. Mine is a face of freedom. My skin is not white. I'm not outrageous, racist, nor socialist. I'm a Republican.
Now, Kyle just loves Cortez. He thinks she's wonderful. He's completely attached to her. So you can imagine how he handled it. Just look at that smug expression. So Schwarzenegger-esque.
That ad, first of all, the ending part where she's like, I'm a Republican. And there was another part where she's like, that's socialism. Twitter memed that to holy hell. Oh my goodness. People were ripping this in 50,000 ways.
Oh yeah. Left-wing memes are devastating.
But listen, that ad, it is almost like an admission of defeat up front.
Okay, now that he's puffed himself up, maybe Kyle can deal with this. The ad claims that Cortez is a socialist, the face of socialism, even. And it also claims that the consequences of socialism are terrible. To counter these claims, Kyle can either say that Cortez is not a socialist, or he can explain that socialism is not a bad thing. Either one would be a coherent response.
Because look at how unhinged they are.
Look at how unhinged they are?
And we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
The world is ending. There's only one thing to do. There. Now I can cope with the end of the world about as well as Kyle can cope with this ad.
You know what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is in favor of?
Well, not socialism, surely, because that would make the ad a lie. Say it, Kyle. Say that she doesn't believe in socialism.
Everybody having health care like every other developed country.
In favor of health care. Check. I can see why people voted for her.
You know what else she's in favor of? Everybody having college, free college, like in most other developed countries.
Free college? She's in favor of free college and health care? Wow. Wait a second, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the ad claimed she was a socialist. Are you going to refute that claim? Or are you just going to keep listing Cortez's superpowers?
You know what she's in favor of? An idea that even Tucker Carlson was like, okay, that's a really good idea. I like that one. What am I talking about? Her first bill, which she did with Bernie Sanders, is a cap at 12% on for interest rates.
Wow, even Tucker Carlson agreed with something she said once. Man, I'm just in love with this girl. But the ad said she was a socialist. Either tell us that she's not a socialist or that socialism isn't bad. Either one. This should be pretty simple.
There's a list of stuff that she's fighting for. By the way, the overwhelming majority of the stuff she fights for polls well over 50%. People love the agenda.
Oh, these ideas poll well, do they? Where do these polls take place? Who is questioned? What questions are asked? And for that matter, how much is a poll really worth? For example, if a hell of a lot of polls were to tell us that Hillary Clinton is destined to defeat Donald Trump in the 2016 election, how much would those polls be worth? No matter how many polls tell you what you want to hear, only one kind of political poll really matters. We hold them every so often. They are special polls in which anyone who wants to get involved can and everyone else can stay home. And we determine what policies we're going to put in place by determining our leadership. These polls are called elections. And they're the only kind of political polls that matter.
Even Republicans love the agenda. If you take her face and her name off of it and you just lay that agenda out, they'd be like, I love this. This is awesome.
So was that the sum total of her policies? Or might she hold other views that certain Republicans and even independents might not be so eager to get behind? Like, say, for example, the Green New Deal. That was her signature piece of legislation, and when it came up for a vote, not one senator voted for it. Not one. Not one Democrat voted for it. Oh shit, what am I saying? Free college! Free college!
Since they cannot respond to what she's actually in favor of and what she's pushing for, okay, what do? They, first of all, do some weird, like, creepy, semi-incitement to violence shit.
Excuse me? Incitement to violence? Oh, sorry. Semi-incitement to violence.
They, first of all, do some weird, like, creepy, semi-incitement to violence shit with her face on fire or whatever, which is so vile.
Yeah, okay, that's just about the most awful thing I've ever seen.
Man, I'm not seeing it. At all. For this ad to be an incitement to violence, even a semi-incitement to violence, it would have to encourage people to commit an act of violence. Maybe I just missed it. Maybe it's hidden. Let's try running the ad backwards.
I half-heartedly encourage you to harm Ocasio-Cortez.
Ah! Well spotted, Kyle. A subliminal message.
They're not even trying to make sense. This is low, preach to the lowest common denominator, people who already hate her and try to, but again, it's also kind of dangerous. Because are there people out there who are like legit white supremacists who are, who hate AOC and are violent people who might see something like this and be like, she's just as bad as we thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I just bet all those filthy white supremacists out there are going to pick up on that very subtle dog whistle of a semi-incitement to violence.
We're not having a reasonable, legitimate discussion in this country. We're having, like, the right is just viciously strawmanning the left in the most caricatured possible way.
You've gone a little broader than the topic there, Kyle. That ad was not about the left. That ad was about Cortez in particular. And if they are straw-manning her, then you can counter that claim easily. Just tell us that she's not a socialist.
Classic tokenism, too, by the way. Get some woman of color to go out there and act like, see, us Republicans aren't racist because I'm a woman of color and I'm a Republican.
Well, let me tell you, Kyle, as a lifelong independent, with no loyalty to the Republican Party whatsoever, that if the goddamn leftist Democrats were not throwing around accusations of racism over and over and over ad nauseum, then maybe the Republicans wouldn't do this. Oh, and as for your claim of tokenism, classic tokenism, fuck you, Kyle, that's real racism. Because, ironically, you are denouncing this woman's message on the basis of her race. But then blatant racism is not unheard of from the great Kyle Kulinski.
Instead of having Herman Cain go out there and go, shuck it ducking now, massa. You want me to do a jig for you? I can do a jig for you. Here's my jig. Here's my jig. I'm a woman of color, and I'm a Republican, and socialism is evil, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is like historical mass murderers.
Whoa now. See, that was their point. They claim that socialism causes great harm, and that Cortez advances socialism. You keep claiming that they don't have an argument, and then you lay out their argument in the simplest of all possible terms. And you could counter this argument very easily, but instead you dance around it theatrically, claiming that they don't have an argument. And then you show us that you understood their argument all along. Disagree if you want. Disagree vehemently if you want. But don't make the claim that they don't have an argument when you understood their argument.
I don't need to resort to these kind of gross tactics to make an argument against the right. I don't have to do it. Classic tokenism too, by the way. Get some woman of color to go out there and act like, see, us Republicans aren't racist because I'm a woman of color and I'm a Republican. For anybody who's even somewhat reasonable, this just goes too far for them.
Well, admittedly, I didn't really like the ad either. But your freak out and your dishonesty makes the ad look just positively Capra-esque.
I could just take Donald Trump's agenda and his policies and say, see, look how low these poll.
Polls. And you keep saying that. But what I said earlier about polls, I want that to be the last thing I say. The only genuine political polls are elections. And your girl, Cortez, she's going to have to face one of those genuine polls in the near future. And when she does, she will face it in her district and her district alone. Wherever it is you're holding these other magical polls that tell you what you want to hear, that's not where the Cortez poll is going to be held. And in her district, as I understand it, Cortez is a highly unpopular incumbent. This comes as no surprise to me at all. In her district, there have been a couple Republicans who are willing to stand up and be counted. That hardly matters, though. In that district, this martini could win an election with a D in front of its name. No, the only thing that could really make a difference there is a primary challenge. Another Democrat would have to step up to challenge Cortez.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I think that the darling of the Justice Democrats may be facing her end. And it could be that I'm wrong. I mean, people have been wrong about elections before.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump.
At real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
If I'm right, though, then AOC's first term will be her last term. And I look forward to enjoying the screeching and the mourning that follows that.